It's ThursdAGE, and by the skin of our teeth, by gum, we've made it. You know, I'm not one to skip a stream, and when a guest said that they weren't able to make it, I thought, you know who I would love to have on? Our friends from the Rando stream. I, of course, being disembodied Troy, and they, of course, being one of the hosts, Paul Shaw. And we're going to figure out what Paul's all about. We're going to talk about the Rando stream. We are going to just have some fun and welcome them to the Adventure Game Engine community and a community of streamers, of which there are many, and we love them all, but we especially like making new friends. Please join me in saying, hey, Paul, how are you?
I am good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. I'm and even better now that you're here with us. I appreciate that. So, first of all, give me the premise of the Rando stream.
So the Rando stream is we create completely randomized characters. Kia ora, Blue Nova. I can see you practicing Māori. We basically go through and using the random number generator from the core rulebook, we roll some dice. We don't make any changes other than swapping two things around. And then we randomly choose our race, our background, our class, what weapons we can use, what spells we choose, and essentially just play with a 100% random character. And then I choose a random map and we go for it.
See, I love that. So it's quick, it's fun, you get sort of a sense of what the options are, but ultimately it's just like grab it and go.
It pretty much is. We've actually nutted it down. We can do two characters fully created from start to finish with all equipment, spells, everything, and then play a random one-shot within 2 hours. It's pretty much exactly 2 hours. And we've even tried it with a couple of people who have never used the age system. And they're able to jump in straight away, build a character, and absolutely love playing.
Yeah, Blue Nova says you guys do great streams. I enjoy watching when I have the time. Blue Nova, Kayorira, as they say in New Zealand.
So key for da.
Key for ya, Blue Nova. I'm kidding. You know, my accent is awful, and I do love kind of irritating Blue Nova about it. But you know, here's the thing: is never rattled. So I have a feeling that maybe something about New Zealand. Blue Nova, no, Troy. Why? I don't know. That many do, and there is no answer other than to say it makes me laugh. But okay, so Paul, in the little pre-show sort of graphic wrangling and camera adjustment, you mentioned that you had have a background in broadcast.
Yes, so I got a few IT degrees because my father wouldn't let me do any majors in art until I had something to fall back on. My choice was accounting or IT. So I really appreciate that because when COVID hit, I could move into IT.
Yes.
So yes, very good parental advice there. Are you in Christchurch as well, Blue Nova? But yes, so I basically went off to a college up in Auckland. They were an offshoot of Weta Workshop, and we done a degree in 3D animation where we worked on stuff like Veggie Tales, Buzz and Poppy, a couple of other shows. I think for Weta we worked on a little bit of Kong. I was part of the render team for Kong, and we worked a little bit on their show Jane and the Dragon.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's fantastic. And so how much of what you learned in broadcasting do you bring to the stream with you?
A little bit, because after that, I went in to start my own company, and I learned I knew nothing. I knew pre-production and post-production, but I didn't know how to operate a camera properly. I didn't know how to do the script writing properly. I specialized as a storyboard artist, so you can imagine a storyboard artist is no use on a live stream.
That's right. That cracks me up.
So went back to
So
uni, got another degree, and started working for Sky TV as a cameraman and as a streamer in their live news broadcast.
okay, awesome. Okay, well, this is phenomenal, and it does explain sort of uh, the quality of your stream. It's very well done. It's very so you've got
Yep.
some you've got some some production. It is clear that you found a very sort of elegant, and that there's some simplicity here in what you're doing. Now, does the as far as people who are watching, what can they anticipate as far as engagement? Like, do you ask them to do anything? Do you how
Um,
does it work?
we try and get them to choose whether it's going to be a combat encounter, role play encounter, exploration encounter. We ask them what sort of things they want in. So twice we've had unicorns. They wanted a unicorn. We've
Of
had
course.
they wanted a manticore. We try and just engage the audience, trying to get their impression as to what do they want to see.
That's
Because I
great.
make the story up as I go. I don't pre-plan a single thing. I've learned for many years DMing, do not plan because the players will always do something else.
That's exactly right. No matter all best laid plans, better to hone the
Oh yeah,
extemporaneous skills than to try to force players to do the thing you want them to do.
yeah.
Um,
We were playing a Titan's Grave game, and the team were trying to track down a MacGuffin. So they had a whole heap of equipment to try and go on this epic journey. One of the
yeah.
guys said, "Oh, what do I see next to the town or next to the city?" I was like, "Oh, there's a couple of plains. You can see some mountains in the background." So while the party was asleep, he stole all the gear to go buy spelunking gear because he wanted to climb the mountain and kill a dragon.
Ay, ay, ay. Of course, classic, classic tale. So, talk to me about your experience. You as a GM, you as a streamer. Are we looking at? Is this a relatively sort of new endeavor for you, or have you been TTRPGing for some time now?
We were playing lots of TTRPGs in the mid '90s with TSR and D&D back when it was THACO based. We kind of skipped the whole 3.5 Pathfinder revolution and just continued playing THACO rules right
Yeah.
up until we had Dragon Age came out on the PC. Me, my brother, and my best mate absolutely loved it. So while we are actually down in Wellington, because we lived in Hawke's Bay, so drove down to Wellington for a wedding, I believe it was, and my brother and I just called into a local game store, saw this box sitting there. It was set one of Dragon Age. We were like,
Ah,
"Wow, that's impressive." I didn't even know, never heard of Green Ronin, didn't know that there were other games outside of D&D. So we picked it up. We actually jumped on a bus that was going literally nowhere. It went to one end of Wellington and then back. And we spent 2 hours just sitting there reading the core rule book and the player's handbook.
well, that is about the coolest story I have ever heard. I love that. Do you remember the name of the store you saw the box in?
It was called the Caffeinated Dragon. It wasn't called that to begin with. It was in a little underground sort of shopping mall, but they closed that and moved opposite some major thing. It could be the library, but it could be the central something in Wellington, and rebranded to the Caffeinated Dragon.
I see. Yeah, it looks like is it the City Gallery of
Oh, I
Wellington?
can't remember. I'm talking many years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just looking. I'm looking them up because I would love to tell them the story, and it looks like they're still around and doing the
They
thing.
are. Yep, yep. I don't really keep in touch with them, but I do follow them on Facebook, and I see them quite a bit on Facebook.
All right, nice. Well, we'll reach out to them and just sort of tell them the story, and I think that the friendly local game stores they like to hear these stories and make connections, and who knows, we might even be able to get more products out there and sort of
I would
supporting
love
our
that.
in New Zealand. Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's the other thing as well. Just given sort of the remote location, and I mean, it's not remote to you; it's home. That's where you live. But to us, it's quite far away. But talk to me a little bit about gaming in New Zealand, especially tabletop.
So, living in Hawke's Bay, our local game store was called Lovecraft Gaming. I'm still good friends with the owner, Christoph. We've actually we rented out one of the local theatres and put on a live production using the modern age rules.
Oh, wait,
Um,
what? Wait, no,
yeah,
hold on. You just slip that in here and not tell me what the heck you're talking about. You did what? Who and how? All right, explain yourself.
okay, so a few years ago, just after COVID, we were still in lockdown, so we didn't know if we could run it. It was coming up to Halloween, so we basically decided to rent a local theatre place out called the Cabana. We didn't have too many people because, in all honesty, we didn't know if we were still going to be able to open. They were opening up for lots of events and had actually got shut down by the government because, restrictions and stuff. So yeah, we wrote a Lovecraftian horror one. I based it off the book Dagon, and we used the horror rules found in was it the Mastery Guide or the Companion Guide?
I
I think
bel
it's the Companion.
I think it's the companion. Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Wow.
the Mastery Guide literally had just come out. It turned up a week before I done it, but I'd already written the story. So yeah, we rented that out. We had an international comedian who had been stuck over here in lockdown, my brother, who had a bit of a panic attack on stage, and
Oh
it
no.
came through with his character, who was meant to be head of security, and he was panicking, and everyone loved it because they thought he was acting that his character was panicking.
Like this person really knows their character work. They've done it.
And then we had the owner of the local game store and one of the leaders of the local geeks guild, and yeah, we put on a horror show, and yeah,
Wow. Wow, that is freaking phenomenal. And what was the name of the store again?
it was called Terror from the Deep. I based it on, the Lovecraftian book Dagon.
Yes, yeah, of course.
So it
I
was.
store, the name of
Oh,
yeah, the
the
friendly
store is called Lovecraft. So the Lovecraft Gaming Store.
Lovecraft
Um,
game store. Okay,
yes. So I can send you the thing on Facebook
I
with them.
found it.
Oh, you found them. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. I may be disembodied, but I can Google. Seriously, Blue Nova says, "Okay, that's awesome." Hey, I also want to say my cousin's here. Disembodied voice says, "Hey, I'm so glad for the Rando stream is here. I'm using their Fantasy Age 2, the 2E Forge compendiums. You
Yes,
guys are
I believe I sent it through to him a few days ago.
nice. That is
Yeah.
phenomenal." Boyce Game says, "Good time zone, fellow game devs and gamers. Good to see you, boys. And Learn Music. Hey, to you. Thank you for stopping by. We are, of course, talking to Paul Shaw from the Rando stream. Now, you have a partner in crime, right? Well, many partners in crime.
Yep.
You have like a co-host.
I do. His name is Lee Howard. He used to work with me back in Napier. And we started a fair few years ago with a third person and yeah, his wife, a show called the Xbox Cast. So
Okay, nice.
basically, just talking about Xbox. That was basically it was when Destiny came out. They loved Destiny, so they made a Destiny podcast, and then it just grew into an Xbox podcast.
Gotcha. Yeah, as things do, right? I mean, you start a
Yeah.
podcast with one idea and it evolves over time into the better idea most times. Sometimes maybe not so much. But so here's a question for you. When it comes to, Boyce Game says, I haven't checked out Second Age Fantasy Age or Second Edition Fantasy Age yet, but it looks fun. Tell me your impression so far of the Second Edition and sort of, and just, give it to me unvarnished.
I quite like it. I really love the Envoy. It sort of feels most of the players, like when we had a four-player game, you could guarantee you'd have one fighter, one mage, and two rogues, because most of the time you'd have an assassin type rogue and then the face of the party type rogue.
That's
And
right. Yeah.
it seems to have split that off. So now we've got the rogue is back where it should be, an assassin lockpicker type thing. I usually liken the rogue to a James Bond like character. And then you've got the face of the party being the envoy. So that I think is really good. I love it. I was a little bit shocked to see that you no longer get a racial ability boost, but I kind of see the point on it. It's now everybody gets 12 points or 13, one of those numbers. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. And you just spend them where you go, which basically puts everyone on an even keel. We've had one of my players always plays a divine human from the Troy book, not the Troy book. What is it? The one based on Greek.
The Trojan War.
Trojan War, that's the one.
Yeah.
He'll always play that because he gets like 3 or 4 boosts, and he's always rolling high. His last character at level 1 had 18 points that he could spend and everything.
So things are a little bit more an even playing field in that regard.
It is a much more even playing field, and it stops you locking things off. Like, I always have orcs are not actually an evil race in my worlds. I actually akin orcs more to the Māori, real proud tribal warrior race.
Yeah.
And consequently, they can be whatever they want to be. They don't have to be focused on being a tank type character or a strength base. You can have an elegant orc that's a talker. My wife actually built one that was a goblin envoy.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, honestly, that's the beauty of the update. I think it really provides just an opportunity to just add some texture to these historically sort of one note monsters. Let's see. Gerbo says, okay, so. Our buddy Gerbo the Druid just got their Fantasy Age UK delivery. Okay, nice. Via a friend in Florida. Okay, nice. I'm nice. Sure that's some kind of illegal. We are smuggling in books, but I'm glad you got yours. Of course, we do not condone any illegal activities, but anything that save money. Yeah. Shipping is outrageous right now. I mean, it is just. I mean, it should be criminal, frankly.
It is. Unfortunately, that's why I don't have a physical copy of the book. I honestly could not afford or justify the cost, because the book was, for us, it's about $60 when you take into conversion. Shipping was sitting at $80.
Gosh, I mean, unbelievable that it's like could be 2 or 3 times the cost of the thing you want to get shipped. It's just, it's nuts. So we're gonna connect with our friends in New Zealand running the Friendly Local Game Store and see if we can help with that. And we'll Paul, you and I can talk after the stream, and we'll try to get a copy in your hands. I mean, honestly, it's cheaper if we just buy a ticket and I fly out there and hand it to you. I mean,
sometimes it feels that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I do prefer supporting my flags, but I think for Pathfinder, I subscribe to them. I spoke to Krista and just said, hey, I can buy the book and get it shipped and get the PDF for slightly cheaper. Do you mind if I do that? And he was fine with that, as long as I spend money on other things.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, I know that we'll be able to connect and kind of widen the exposure for folks. And let me see real fast. Gerbo says, I put a comment in the Discord H section about packaging, but no significant damage. So just a suggestion. Oh, got you. So it sounds to me like you might have, we have a fulfillment warehouse, and when we ship stuff out, it looks like perhaps Gerbo, straighten me out, but it sounds like you might have gotten a package that was a little beat up. But let us know if there's anything that we can help with there.
Often it's actually the local people. We have had a huge issue locally in New Zealand, with, especially through COVID. I brought a bunch of digital switches because I was working with a bunch of churches, helping them get set up for live streaming. And the courier guy delivered it to a school 10 kilometers away.
Yeah, I mean, and the pressure's on those frontline folks. I mean, and I get it. I am sympathetic to a degree when you see them kicking the package up a flight of stairs and dropping it on something and breaking stuff in the process. It is kind of hard to maintain a sympathetic ear. Stanek says it's an international gaming cartel. Those TTRPG folks, we are highly wild. Voice Games has it. We do not condone illegal activities except for smuggling awesome things out of Florida. And, as an American, I will tell you, awesome things being smuggled out of Florida is not necessarily what we're known for.
Based in Florida.
What was that?
Is Green Ronin based in Florida?
No, we're based in Seattle.
Okay.
The very opposite corner, because that's just how we like it. No offense to Floridians, but you know what I'm talking about. Let's see. Okay, Garbo says just tiny damage on the corners because no filler in the box to stop it from rattling around. A good point, my friend, and I'm going to bring that up. We're going to mention it. You want to be the one to dent your corners, not
Yeah,
you get it pristine and crisp and ready to really hurt the first time you hit it on your elbow or drop it on the floor. So
there's
we will. We'll look into that, Garbo, and if you can, we'll talk. I'll look for you, but you can also look for me on Discord and drop me a line so that we can kind of plug you directly into the customer service process. Which if you're interested, you can send a note to custserve@greenronin.com and we'll take care of that for you. Okay, so back to you, Paul. Okay, so yeah, you're blowing my mind. So you've done a full play. You've got your live stream going. I'm expecting kind of here that you've got 7 kids named after each one of the different age books and games and things. Talk to me a bit about sort of. Do you see in New Zealand a burgeoning TTRPG community, or is it sort of holding steady, or is it sparse? Like, what's that about?
it's in Hawke's Bay. I think it was pretty good. We had a couple of different local groups, as well as Lovecraft would open up once or twice a week for all sorts of TTRPGs. He was probably like he would have one shelf of Pathfinder, one shelf of D&D, and about 4 shelves of other RPGs.
Yeah.
So his favorite one was Delta Green and Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So he had a lot of that sort of stuff. He also had a lot of Vampire Masquerade. He actually was able to get in an awful lot of Green Ronin stuff. I never saw much Blue Rose from the shop.
Yeah.
But most of what I got, other than I think I got the Mastery Guide on pre-order, and I believe I got Lear's and some other very obscure one, the Campaign Builder's Guide from Amazon. Everything else I've managed to buy through him, which is good.
Nice.
He was able to, he put, set 3, Dragon Age set 3. It is the missing gap in my collection, and I don't think I'll ever get a copy.
Oh, I see. Yes, right. Yeah, we'll work on all of that for sure. But talk to me about did you play any Vampire the Masquerade? Did you is that a thing you got involved in?
Not really. It was honestly we went from the Thaco-based D&D right the way through to the late-ish 2000s, and then we started Age. I believe the Dalish Curse came as a book in the first one. Or was it of the?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch up.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I said, but that was before my time. I'm while I've been here for, I think I'm going into my 4th year now. That was so long ago when those books were published. So we can just lie, and I'll agree with you.
Okay, so yeah, we grabbed that. That was the first time I DM'd and actually killed a player. There is a part you get the MacGuffin. You have to cross a land bridge. A bunch of blood crows come and pick at you while you're trying to cross. And one of the guys was like, "Oh, it's okay. It's a land bridge." I'm like, "It's a land bridge as in it's a tree falling across a ravine. It's very slippery." So he rolled. He failed his acrobatics test to cross it. Then he rolled a strength climbing test or a strength something test and failed that. Fell down the ravine, rolled 66 dice, got 3 6s, 2 5s, and a 4, and died.
Wow. Well, it's really, I mean, when you look back on it, you always remember the first player that you wiped. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think he's forgiven me.
Oh no, he's still carrying a grudge. Well, I get it. But them's the breaks. What's funny about this is that only in tabletop role play gaming could we say, that's so funny. He died a horrible death. So he fell into a
I try and avoid wherever possible killing off my players. Apart from the actual show, that was the first TPK we had. Yeah, it's horrible.
So now here's a good question because I think I get the sense as you and I have been talking and that you don't strike me as a we've got one of our developers, Alex Thomas. He works on he's the line lead for Mutants and Masterminds. Alex is diabolical He loves, I mean, within reason, and he likes to kind of throw, sort of diabolical situations out there, and to, I'll say, with consent and participation, torture the players, and get them. But now, did that TPK sort of make you adjust the way that you did your job?
Not really. The way I saw it, this was a one-shot horror-based one.
Sure.
Basically,
Okay.
the premise was they found the obelisk from the story Dagon. This is based in 2050, so they built a massive research station over it to basically study it. And it was, they were getting massive energy readings, blah, blah, blah. So technology was just skyrocketing out of there. They then found that was on a precipice of a cliff face under the ocean. Underneath that, they found the city of Ryla. Is it pronounced Ryla?
You
The
know,
food.
bit of a take on it, and yours is just as good as any of the others. Some people say,
Yep.
really,
So they found that, and effectively it kicked off with the support vessel being attacked by deep ones. So they escaped in a submarine, being chased by deep ones. They managed to get to the base. However, this ship exploded and took out half the base. So there was a whole using the advanced rules to basically get across the corridor as everything's imploding into the command center. They got to that as the last of one part of the base imploded on them, managed to fight their way around through to the evacuation point where they could get another ship to basically get out of there. And that's where they found the big bad guy. They all entered in a massive fight. Um, one of the engineer was basically prepping the sub to get it running. One of the guys absolutely panicked. He failed so many of his rolls that he had gone mad. So he just jumped in the ship and flipped the switch to fire it off, leaving the other two to a grisly, horrifying death. And
Oh,
because the engineer had not actually prepped the ship, he rolled. He failed his roll to get the ship going off, and it just putted along, and the city rose underneath them. They got caught up in the city's wake. They ended up, the last scene was basically the city had surfaced. They were in the middle of this city. They opened the door, the last two people left alive, to see hundreds of deep ones emerging out of the houses in the city, just staring at them. And we closed it off there.
with the title Cthulhu Awakens.
Yeah.
All right, so as somebody who's played around in the mythos and has had fun with cosmic horror and really kind of enjoys and as has killed many a player in the telling of a story in that genre. What do you think about Cthulhu Awakens?
I really like it. I like the simplification of the weapons. They aren't as simple as the way you done it with the Expanse,
Yeah,
but they are a lot better than the way it was with Modern Age. I think when you take into account all of the different books accumulated through Modern Age, there were so many different variant weapons to choose from. It just made it complicated, and characters were like, "Well, I'll just take a gun. Any gun will do. I'll just take a gun."
right, right. And now kind of that when you're in a candy store and you can't pick the one thing that you want because you want all of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I do like how they've simplified, well, not they, you have simplified that. I really do like the whole horror thing. I like the way alienation works and how it builds up and up. And when you get distortions built on top of that, and that builds up and up until you just go mad.
I love that mechanic, and I love that it's one of the things that I appreciate about the adventure game engine in general is that these features or these sort of each twist of each game has its own sort of the churn or the relationships in Blue Rose and all of that stuff. It's modular as well, so you can sort of say I'm going to borrow that mechanic and apply it to some other a whole different universe of games. But that's one of the things I love.
Yeah.
uh, from your perspective, what about what we've done with Cthulhu Awakens in that regard do you like the most? Like, why does that work for you?
Um, because I haven't really touched in Blue Rose, I've always found the mechanics of the whole bonds and relationships were a little lackluster. They had good flavor for the character,
Yeah,
but most of the time we just ignored it. Whereas now that you can use them to add stunts to things. And I don't remember if I read it or I just made it up. I kind of used it the same as fortune, so you could use that instead of stunt points to build your dice up.
Yeah.
The way fortune does. Yeah. It now has actual meaning to the game, and it can change the way games work. And to me, that just adds more in-depth to the character. If you look at our last live stream, we actually spent quite a bit of time building it. So he created two random characters. One was a union dock worker, and one was a bouncer from a club. And they were able to use the background things to build who did they know, what were they good at, what were their ideologies, and it actually had a bit of a impact in the game where one of them was going a bit nuts because they'd seen all these poltergeists happening, and the other one was able to use his connection. Hey, you've come to the club a bit, you trust me, snap out of it, man. And that he was able to pass a test that would have sent him off the edge.
I love that. I love that. And I'm going to drop a link in the live chat. So remember, folks, to check that out so that you can stop by and give some love to our friends at Hippo HQ. Now, Hippo HQ is sort of the parent organization, or sort of the
Yes, when I left uni, I founded with my parents a company called Hippo Productions. So I was Hippo HQ because I was the head editor, head cameraman, and sort of my mum was the face because she's really good at talking to people, but I was right beside her getting the stuff and basically geek speaking, the technical stuff for productions. So
God.
yeah, it just became Hippo HQ was what I was, and I've kept that call sign pretty much the whole way through. We've stopped Hippo Productions and moved to Hippo Entertainment. So no more live streaming of events, more entertainment stuff and TTRPG. So
I
a bit of
like
a name change of the brand, but yeah.
Sure, sure. And with you get to keep a little bit of what kind of brought you to the table to the first place, and
Yeah.
as you evolve. And I love that. It is so funny. We live in a weird time right now of technology where we get so much of a fire hose of what the algorithm thinks we want. Uh, and then it doesn't share. Like, I mean, I'm looking at I see my fantasy group from 2 years ago. Like, am I, on your channel? Like, it's just you've been talking about green running products, and experiences for a long time. And so, what a shame that we haven't connected. And I'll take the blame for that. But I am so glad that we're connected now because we can really get into this, and especially over there in New Zealand, because that gives us an excuse to make a trip. Like, we've got, I got to lobby my bosses to fly me out there. It's pretty
Well, we
cheap.
do have Armageddon, which I think we've just finished Armageddon Christchurch. Armageddon is our version of the big gaming events, not the end of the world.
I love it. And so, when you're thinking about uh, New Zealand, and I find myself sort of just ruminating on the people that are gaming out there, and how connected folks are. Are there conventions and things that people attend?
Yeah, there are some gaming conventions. We have one called WellieCon, which is basically a board game and TTRPG convention once a year in Wellington, the capital.
Mm.
We also have back in the Hawke's Bay Geek Guilds, we would run a bunch of yearly, or 2-3 times a year, we'd have a big gaming convention. Plus, we'd obviously have Monday night games. I'd run a games one on Friday nights and Wednesday nights. We'd have the Lovecraft game. So yeah, it is big. I don't know what it's like in Christchurch yet. I've run a few games here at home, but we're still getting a bit established here. I haven't gone out as much as I would like to try and do
Well, fair.
things. Plus,
Yeah, yeah. Being so busy and focused on sort of getting all of your pieces of the puzzle together, and live streams and all that stuff. But I'm checking out the website, wellycon.org.nz, and wow, it looks great. I mean, they're serious. This serious business.
it is. Gaming is a big thing down here. I
Yeah,
mean, where we done Lord of the Rings, so everyone's a geek for fantasy.
That's right. So, and that's what I was going to ask, everybody, you really can't talk about New Zealand without talking about Lord of the Rings and, the little Hobbit village that you all live in, which is really interesting. That's what all your homes look like, really tiny, and you're all with big,
I wish.
right? I mean, I would live in that house. I'm as tall as Gandalf, but I would still live in that house. So my question for you is New Zealand in general pretty excited and open to nerdery and geekdom?
I think so. There is a lot. Like you can go and talk to people and suddenly find, oh, they play Star Wars or they play Cthulhu or they play Vampire, and yeah, it's actually surprising how many people out there do play some sort of tabletop RPG. We've got one group of people we were talking to, and we didn't know it, but they have a whole heap of board games, and they run a weekly board games group. So they're coming around tonight with their kids, so our kids can play a board game with them. And we've known these people for 6 months, didn't know they were gamers.
See, I love that. Now, it is sort of interesting that everyone's keeping their gaming credentials off their LinkedIn, but we should encourage more of that exchange of sort of credentials and all the things that there are people involved, especially around tabletop role playing, because it can be, if you don't know other people who are engaged in it. Now, I work in the field, and people ask me what I do for a living, and I explain it to them. And I'm like, no, but for work. Like, what do you do for work? And I'm like, what? Explain it again, and they're like, no, but when you get paid, what are you doing when you get? I'm just like, okay. We're not gonna, but once people get it and they see it happening, you see sort of the big cultural things that tabletop roleplay has done to, there are some bigger companies out there that are pulling in quite a bit of interest, and that it's almost like no horrifying mistake is too big to knock out TTRPGs as a hobby. But it is sort of a renaissance time where we've got people who are learning about or coming and saying, hey, I've been playing Fantasy Age, or I've been reading all my Mutants and Masterminds books, and I've been trying to figure out who I could play with and connecting in that way. And so, I mean, that's pretty exciting, and which is doubly exciting for us to connect with you because you have been immersed in this for some time now.
Quite a few years.
I love that. So one of the things that I'm curious about just in general, so when in New Zealand, and everybody's watched sort of documentaries and sort of like the understanding that most of the population is on one of the islands, right? Is that right? Yeah. Okay. North Island. Okay. Good. I was making sure I'm just talking about the same geographical location because geography not my strong suit. Beautiful country. It looks absolutely incredible, but they're like, it's not all just pastures and hobbit huts. We've got like either cities and, but when it comes to sort of the flora and fauna, is it trying to kill you as much as say like Australia's flora and fauna is, or is it?
We only have one breed of poisonous spider, and in all honesty, they are kind of harmless. The kakapo, not the kakapo. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, we only have one. And I've stepped in a tree and sort of felt something crawling on me, flicked it off, and that night I found that it was a spider nest underneath it. Didn't get a single bite. So that's about the most dangerous. We have no snakes. We do have an issue with large game like deer and boar and goats. They are a nuisance, mainly because we have no predatory mammals here. So no lions, no tigers, no bears, no nothing like that.
Predatory mammals.
Sorry?
I was saying you're the only predatory mammals there
We
with them.
are. Yeah. So I used to spend my youth basically jumping into a car, going up to Gisborne and doing goat hunting to help clear all the goats from the farmers' land because they need the land, and we'll be the goat.
There you go. I mean, delicious as well. The katapo.
Katapo. That could be the spider. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Google's telling me, but it could be a lie.
Yeah, it's a cute little one, but that's about it. We have wolf spiders, but honestly, I used to breed spiders. I love spiders. My mum is arachnophobic, and when they sort of got out of the cage and started dropping on her bed at night, I moved to praying mantises. Yeah, we don't have anything. We don't have sharks. We do have killer penguins. I did try and pet a penguin when I was a kid, and it tried to take my finger off.
Wait,
So
what? Okay, wait a minute. So you don't have sharks because it's too kind of far out there, right, for them to reach you, I guess. Like
yeah,
not even.
I don't think it's warm enough. Maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, so talk to me about the weather. So right now, what is the weather for you?
Well, I am based in the South Island now, so I'm in Christchurch, which is the main central city for the South Island. I'm about 100 k around away from the mountains, and they are pure white. And
Uh,
last week, the hills that are about, I don't know, a couple of k that way, about 3 k that way, they were snowing. So,
so
being
it's
winter, it's a bit cold.
yeah, yeah. And so, and of course, I'm in Seattle where it is now 3,000 degrees. And we're not equipped for the heat or the cold. We
No,
complain no matter what.
yeah.
Garbo said, I'm sure you never let the spiders out deliberately for the lulls.
I would take them out and I let them build little webs on my finger. And
Oh, giving me the heebie-jeebies, and I'm not even arachnophobic. Oh my god. Yeah, I love that. And so, how long would they? I mean, and these are the poisonous spiders, or
no, these are wolf spiders. If they bite you, it's akin to maybe a bumblebee.
we've got those here. They're remarkable
Yeah,
little creatures. Yeah, they,
yeah,
they really are.
funnel webs, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and so maybe I'm thinking if I'm thinking of the right spider, are they the ones that kind of like are inquisitive almost, and they kind of
Those are
like,
jumpy jacks, I believe, which we do
uh,
have lots of them. They're very cute little furry ones. They don't really build webs and they jump around and they're very inquisitive and come
yeah,
up
they
and
want
lick
to
you.
see what you're all about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Blue Nova says, yep, it was -2 centigrade. Is that right?
Yeah, we are in Celsius here. So at the moment it is degrees Celsius. When we first called, it was -1.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
too cold. That's too chilly. But as we're kind of nearing the end of the program, we got about 15 minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about how folks can connect with you. I also want to, a shout out to your wife who does the graphics and stuff. So when you were talking to me about her contribution in graphics, when we look at your YouTube page, there's a kind of a picture of an affable, cartoon guy, looking very,
Yeah.
charismatic. And is that her art?
No, that there was about 3 years ago, one of our top viewers on the Xbox cast wanted to give us a Christmas present. So he had an artist basically draw all four of us for the
Wait a minute.
Xbox cast.
You're saying
And
receiving you were receiving gifts from people who watch your program and not just witty little, pithy comments and, like basically the gift that our chat gives me is a joke that I shouldn't accidentally say when I'm reading what they're saying in chat because I just read it like some kind of Ron Burgundy and making fun of me because I'm talking about how cold it is right now in New Zealand. Thank you, Stan. Uh, so a fan. Let me just get this straight. A fan did you a solid and drew a pretty picture. I should.
paid someone to draw a picture.
I love that. I love that. Yerbo says pretty crisp temperature. It's 10:45 here, and it's 19 degrees Celsius, getting too warm again.
Oh, I would love 19. We only barely hit 10 yesterday, and that was a warm day.
Yeah, and so we don't do Celsius, so 19 sounds. I don't know what that sounds like. It sounds to me
I
like
don't
that
know
would.
the math.
I don't either. Here are two cultures combined together, both going. I don't know how it works. I don't know the numbers behind it, but that's fine.
I know
Okay.
-40 is the same in both, but that I only learned that through StarGate.
There's. Are you totally? Tell me a bit about like kind of outside of TTRPGs. Uh, what are your sort of guilty nerd pleasures? I mean, not so guilty. Just what do you enjoy?
Uh,
Is start.
there are board games, so I do also run a board games group, which we do pretty much any board game you can imagine. Um, yeah, there's Honestly, not a lot else. We used to do quite a bit back in Napier. We just haven't had a chance to get established here in Christchurch.
Sure,
So,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, and starting with the local community centre, I went over and helped them wire up a security system yesterday just to try and meet them, get to know them, and work out what we
Nice.
can do.
Gotcha. Well, so when you're watching movies or TV programs, what are your go-to sort of? What do you enjoy the most?
I am a fan of the old 80s sword and sorcery.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Decent horror stuff. So I liked things like Oculus and Underwater and those sort of horror ones. I think you may have mentioned it in the one with the black hole with Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne.
That's right.
Event Horizon. Not Event Horizon, is it?
Is it? I think it's Event Horizon. I think it
Yeah.
is, and I think that was actually the episode was Event Horizon. We were talking about, but yeah, well, maybe what I can't remember. But here's what's funny. Now, somebody messaged me, and it was somebody messaged me randomly out of the blue on I can't remember even the platform, and they said, "Hey, by the way, the movie name is this," and I was like, "That's what I've been waiting." It was so funny.
Yep.
Correct.
Stanek says it is Event Horizon. Yes.
That's right. That's right. And I have to say, I'm being a little tongue in cheek when I say that we don't get presents. We get all the love, of course, but Stan, of course, sends us all. I mean, Stan's always doodling something up, and it looks incredible. And he does it in about 5 seconds. And so I certainly don't want to come across as ungrateful because we do love that for sure. Stan's a true talent. That he spends even a moment drawing these shenanigans is a boon to us. So okay, so and then have you heard of any of Malcolm's updates on Swords of the Shadow Planet?
No.
Okay, well I'll have to clue you in on that. I think you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna really enjoy it. You brought up Stargate. Are you a fan of that, or I mean, are
Yeah,
you?
I try and watch at least Stargate, SG1, and Atlantis once a year to go through.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, for me, it holds up. I really do enjoy it. I think it's great, and there's some goofy stuff in there, every once
Yeah.
in a while. Yeah, for the most
I
part.
think one of my first character builds for the Age system was actually building, I can't remember if it was SG1 or if it was the Atlantis crew, but I believe it was making them in the modern Age system. And then I think I'd done a series on how in the companion book, how you had how to make custom backgrounds and stuff. So how to make
Yeah.
Jafar as a custom background, and then how to have a specialization as an with the Jafar, how to basically use the books to customize that and play Stargate in modern age.
I love that. I'm looking at you got also like creating Angel in modern age.
Oh, yep. Angel, I think, would work absolutely amazing in the new Cthulhu one. Basically, run Angel investigations as a Cthulhu mythos.
Yes, I think you're on to something. I really do. I think that is very, very interesting. I'm of course clicking through all of this and want to cover all that. We did talk briefly about your wife, and I want to make sure that we do a shout out because your wife does art for the stream and
Yep. I do the bulk of the drawing. She helps basically refine it and look not messy.
nice. Okay, well that's a good
Yeah.
partnership. I dig that.
Yeah, she's basically my muse and the one that keeps me on track and gets things to actually look good. Plus, she comes up with crazy character builds.
Oh, really? Okay, hum me a few bars. Like, what's the
Um,
craziest thing?
the craziest thing, she plays Navara, a Magus in Pathfinder, and at level 4, she one hit killed a black dragon.
Okay.
But yeah, so she's got that. She's got Indy in Fantasy Age, who is a gnome thief.
Mhm.
She's got one called Talia, which is a cat's folk in Fantasy Age, a cat folk mage, but specializes primarily in setting her claws on fire. She's got high brawling and very high strength, and she sets her claws in, and she's specialized in brawling. And she just, she acts like a cat. She purrs around, all that sort of stuff. And then when combat happens, she's got flaming fists, and she just tears the enemy apart.
I love that. That is just phenomenal. It sounds
She plays a lot of goblins because she opens the book. She loves the new book smell, so she opened the book and had a good sniff of it and rubbed lipstick all over the goblin. So, so she's got a goblin called Scroggin, who is basically a singing pyromaniac alcoholic goblin, and that's
This
in
is
systems.
perfect. I love it. I love all of that, and and again, I think that it's a shame that we hadn't been more connected before now, and I am absolutely delighted that we are. And let me jump in here. I'm grabbing something to cut and paste because you have been so kind as to provide me some stuff. So as far as where folks can find you, we've dropped the link in chat for your YouTube. And is YouTube kind of your primary place of operations, or you do Twitch as well?
I don't really do Twitch. Lee does the Twitch side. I do the YouTube side. I
Okay.
do have a Hippo Entertainment Facebook page, and I technically have a Hippo Entertainment website. It's just hippohq.co.nz. However, I'm in the process of changing it. It was kitted around live streaming, and I honestly
Yeah.
haven't set it up in the last year, basically since COVID. It was pre-COVID website based around doing weddings, funerals, live stream events, that sort of stuff. And I'm going to change it more to basically TTRPG, because I don't think one of the sad things with the technological movement and the pandemic, I can't do funerals anymore because every funeral director has gone and bought a high def camera and plug it into a computer. They can do live streaming.
Yeah, yeah. It really, the bar for entry is really, it's been lowered, which is good. But I think it also just it really incentivizes folks like you who are kind of in there at the vanguard of it all and kind of helping churches and that funerals that's a whole nother thing. I mean, yeah, the dawn of the pandemic, there are still people who can't necessarily leave their home, or they're far away from the from their loved one and all that. So but in a world of like opportunity, I think the tabletop role play space is a great place to pivot to.
Well, yeah, I've found, I mean, especially with the pandemic, we started trying to do online stuff, and at the start of it, there wasn't too much. You had Roll20, but that was convoluted and slow. I
Yeah.
think we moved a little bit to Albia Rodeo for a little bit, but it wasn't until a lot more bigger names like Foundry and Fantasy Grounds actually started taking off that I think that's been a massive thing for the TTRPG community, because everybody can play online now. It's just as fun and just as simple as playing in person.
And there was kind of a strange resistance from sectors of the community that were like, this isn't a video game, or it's around the table or nothing. And it's nice to see that folks are kind of adapting and inviting that into, because I think it just allows more people to have fun, and the accessibility. The more accessibility that you incorporate into the way you do the thing, the more people are going to participate, regardless of what. Yeah, and especially given the global nature of things, it is remarkable how you and I can kind of work together and get things done, and kind of do our thing, even if we're on opposite ends. Like, I mean, it's winter there, it's summer here, all that stuff. But then you think about how far away you really are. It's kind of, you got to do the live stream stuff. It's just a way to have those connections, and I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, you've seen the one with Kylan. He is in Sydney. We've got Lee in Napier. He's 600k away. Other than the cyclone, we can live stream every week.
And I love that. I mean, I think it's fantastic. And my friend, Paul, what an absolute delight. And as we've sort of been bouncing things back and forth and kind of getting everything all set up and ready to go, of course, I'm, kicking myself that we hadn't done this 2 years prior. But I do want to say, I mean, this is a phenomenal opportunity for folks to kind of see this is the world that half a world away, says Nate. These are the kinds of conversations that we want to have on ThursdAGE. We want to connect with folks who are doing live streaming. And if you are out there and they're out there, and I don't know how it happens, chalk it up to the algorithm is working actively against us as it plots with AI to take over the world and subjugate us humans. if folks who are watching this and you're like, hey, I want to be a part of that, all you got to do is send a note to let's play at greenronine.com and just be persistent, because sometimes maybe there's something going on in the world, or TTRPG stuff is or I'm currently just bowled over, wowed, just absolutely impressed and stunned by a particular streamer, like I am with Paul. And so you might need to bug us a couple times before we see you, or maybe we see you and we're in the midst of getting ready to reach out to you. So just do so, be persistent, and you'll be our BFF as well. Paul, in the remaining minutes of the show, yeah, Nate, not overly persistent. You know what I mean, don't you, Nate? But talk to me about anything you'd like to share with folks. Anything coming up? Like what do we see in the future, and sort of what are your and what can folks anticipate when they tune in?
Next week, we are going to go over the way Praxis and Psychic Magic works on the live stream. I still have to put that all into the compendium, so that is probably Saturday, Sunday's job. So we're going to go over that, because I really like the way that the Praxis seem to be more rituals that you could just pull off the shelf and, hey, I found some random script, let's go build something.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool that way. And so we're going to go deep into that. And then I am in the process of converting the actual game that we done live at the stage into a module for the Rando stream. And we're going to basically see if we can get a few guest players and play through that, have an actual campaign, one shot, probably spaced over 2 weeks. So one on the surface, one inside the research center, and just show the strengths of the whole horror system.
Very cool.
Everything like that. Yeah.
Now I can't promise you definitively, but would you be interested in, say, connecting with our lead developer and maybe even perhaps having a little guest spot on your? Because if you'd like to do that, we could certainly work something out.
Yep, I would be very happy with that.
Cool. Okay. All right. I will begin my work of connecting with Malcolm and team, and just sort of talking about sort of the opportunities. So we'll take that offline, but that's just the kind of thing that we like to do. And listen, friend, what an incredible conversation. I really, really appreciate you joining today. It was sort of like, hey, Paul, can you do it? And you're like, yes. And so really appreciate it. You've got there's something here, that little special something that we're just really happy to be able to support and help, sort of grow and look forward to. Now, here's a question for you. If we were to do, say, another special episode, and maybe even invite some of our other streamers and talk about, stuff going on in the age, in the world of the adventure game engine, would you come back and join us?
Definitely.
Fantastic. Okay, my friend, anything else you'd like to share as we sort of close out the show?
No, I do just want to say thank you. The system is absolutely amazing. We have loved it since the day one with set one of Dragon Age. It's a brilliant system, and just thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoy playing it, and I've thoroughly enjoyed all the support you guys have given.
Fantastic. And so folks can see you every Sunday, and that's 17:30 or 19:30 o'clock in New Zealand time. I don't know what that means, but
17:30, so 5:30 p.m. New Zealand time.
There we go. Fantastic. Again, thank you so much. I also want to say thanks to chat. We always appreciate you coming by and giving us the business. And as much as I may tease you, it's all done with love. And and do me a favor, everybody in chat. Make sure you're liked and subscribed to all our stuff for sure. But get over there to youtube.com/hippohq and like all their stuff. Like, I mean, if they've got a ton of videos, and you need to like every single one, you need to subscribe, you need to bring all your friends over, tell your mom about it so she comes over and she subscribes, and let's give them some love and amplify their great work. Yeah, hashtag Paul Shaw, and just let's give them some love. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the things we get to do together moving forward. And thanks again for joining us today.
Yep, thank you very much. And yep, I believe I'm 2 subscribers away from 200.
Get in there, friends. Get in there, and have some fun. Oh yeah, you don't routinely use the 24-hour clock. No, you Essians. No, we do not. It's and also we're not that good at math. So that being said, I think I've said goodbye now 4 times at least. Who knows?
Yep.
But this time I mean it. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you Monday for Mutants Masterminds Monday, and of course again for ThursdAGE. You want to tune in; it'll be a good show. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.